Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Money Muse. I wanted to kind of share about how I got into the Beatles. I find it that I'm very late on this journey. Everyone they're done with the Beatles and I'm like, no, I have just started, so please give me all the Beatle info. And so I want to share with you today the ultimate Beatle thing I ever bought. It all started with this album, which is Flaming Pie by Paul McCartney. Now, I found a copy at the Goodwill along with this album off the ground, and I just had to get them because it's Paul McCartney. I'm like, well, these are only like a few dollars. I got to get them. And I just fell in love with this one, and I was really surprised at how great it was and everything about it, and I just started to have an interest. And then one of my subscribers sent me just a generous gift of Japanese versions of all the Beatles on CD. This is one of them. And with that came booklets and information about the Beatles and information about that specific album. And from there, I just started to ask questions about, like, wait, how did they become who they were? And I started to find different books on eBay, and I found a lot of just very affordable books. My anthology book that I've been reading, I'm halfway through it, and that was like $10. And at the time of the release, it was, I don't know, I remember it being like around $100 or so. So I've been able to kind of capitalize the fact that, like, people are done with the Beatles because they're either getting rid of their collection, they're getting rid of their albums, they're getting rid of their CDs, maybe they're done with it. But I really love the discovery, and I had saved up for this, and I've been searching for it, and I was so excited when it came in the mail. Drum roll, please. Let's see what version I got. I pre-opened this, and it is the Beatle box set from Japan. I sound like Oprah. A Beatle box set from Japan. I did not think it was possible. They have the best quality in prints, and I had to have it. The box, I'm putting it away because it's already kind of falling apart, but I had a really good subscriber friend out there help me on, like, which pressing should I get, and he really pointed me in the right direction. And so with that is the Japanese version of the Beatles Apple label. This is the rarities, and while reading the book, they talk about, like, oh, they did a German version. Different little pieces of the story. Now, these are all the songs where it's maybe not on an album or it's maybe a different take. And so I thought this was really cool to get. I mean, I didn't even know it existed, and so this is really cool to get in the box set. Also, I'm also learning more about the covers of the album. So Please Please Me, Love Me Do, like, this one sold so many albums in England, and that really put them on the radar of Beatlemania. This is, right before they hit America, that they're touring England, and, like, people are crowding to go see them. And so this is right before Beatlemania hits. This picture is just taken at the EMI Studios, just on the balcony, and I guess the staircase and the building, it's not there anymore, which is kind of sad. The Beatles didn't really have a say in the album covers or anything like that. They kind of just went with the flow. It wasn't until later on they started to have more input. This is the Hard Day's Night. They soon got approached by United Artists and wanted to make a film about the Beatles, and so they developed a script, and they also had to create a soundtrack. So they're doing the script as well, acting in the movie, and then also developing the songs. And just watching the film is really fun. And I learned that there's the American versions that don't have all the tracks, because I guess in America they had some type of thing where you can't have more than 12 tracks. But in the UK versions, you get all of them, which is so cool to get. Then Help, I really enjoyed this film. It really felt like a movie. It was so colorful. And I mean, just a few years ago, we're seeing the Beatles in black and white, and now they're in color. I love the color grading, and this, like, I like the fact that they went to the snow. And then they also went to the Bahamas, and kind of a different scenery kind of brings different lighting and a different mood to the film. So really enjoyed how. And then with the Beatles, now this cover was really inspired by their friend Astrid, who was a photographer, and she had John and George come visit her because their good friend Stuart had passed away, who was a part of the Beatles for a while, and he passed away from a brain aneurysm. John and George asked to go see his art studio, and while they're up there, they kind of begin to mourn about their friend's loss. And I think John was really close to Stuart. Kind of sounds like they were really good friends. And she took these pictures, and she told George, just stand right here, and they're beautiful pictures. John showed Robert Freeman the pictures that Astrid had taken and said, can you do something like this? And so this is where we get the iconic picture. Beatles for Sale, I always wondered, like, what is this album? Well, it's basically their set that they would do live, and they did Beatles for Sale. Now this album, you have John and Paul working together at John's house. He said 8 days a week was inspired by the chauffeur, saying that he had been overworked and he's been working 8 days a week, and Paul's like, okay, that's a song. John also talks about how he was in a Bob Dylan phase, and so the song I Am a Loser is inspired by Bob Dylan. I really enjoyed I'll Follow the Sun. I think that's probably my favorite song from this album. Next you get Rubber Soul, which is their folk album. They're getting a lot of Bob Dylan influence. They also, George and John, their drinks were spiked, and they had the LSD trip, so that really began to influence them. The Beatles were evolving at this time. Oh, you get a beautiful song like In My Life, which is, I think, is one of John's most beautiful songs. And then you're in the thick of it in this 1966 with Revolver, and hearing about what they went through during this time. They're basically just trying out anything. They're looking at a list at Abbey Road, and they're like, oh, there's this instrument, let's try this tambourine, let's try this drum. And I really love the fact that George was getting into the Indian culture with the sitar, and so he tried a few songs and he ended up recording it and using it. I think what caught my eye at first was, of course, the artwork, and I learned it was their good friend who did the artwork, and also the same guy that did all the anthology covers. So he's just a really creative guy. I haven't gotten to his story yet on the Beatles anthology, so I'm not quite knowledgeable about him. Then you come across the White Album, which during this time you're having Ringo kind of upset, where Ringo just decides to quit the band, and the guys are like, okay, they let him go. They wrote telegrams to him. He's on a holiday. Come back, we love you. And George basically made the whole studio full of flowers. Another bonus about this particular box set is it still had the posters. The posters are all in great condition, especially because they were printed in Japan. Then Sgt. Pepper. Now this is one of the ones that are beloved by so many people, and I love the fact that the cover was inspired by Paul's picture from when he was a kid. He used to see his dad in his big band, and he really wanted to do this challenge kind of like, let's do an alter ego so we can get out of that Beatle limitation and kind of expand our sound. And oh my goodness, Strawberry Field Forever, Across the Universe, like so many great songs on that album. And then Magical Mystery Tour. I remember I was always kind of freaked out about this album. I didn't know what it was, but hearing it has really made me grow a special liking to it. Even got the DVD or the Blu-ray on it. I really enjoy the songs that were developed on here, and even though like the film itself is kind of kooky, the album is really good. And then Let It Be, we get kind of their most intimate session of Let It Be. We get footage of that. We can see it. We're in the studio with them, and we see how these songs are being developed. We see there's a little confrontation as well. And watching the DVD version of the Let It Be always makes me sad, because I know like, oh, they're done, they're gonna break up soon. And then this is my favorite, Abbey Road. I just think all of these songs are just so well put together, so beautiful, so fun, very rock and roll. Come Together just opens up with so much energy. And then I saw this one, which is just many different tracks kind of put into one. You have Hey Jude and I Should Have Known Better and just a lot of other great songs. And I got that one, and here is Yellow Submarine, which was also part of the whole blue box, which is kind of cool. I haven't seen the cartoon yet. I'm still waiting to see it. I have the DVD, haven't seen it yet. And so I don't know much about this album, but it's really fun to kind of get to know who the Beatles are as the journey goes on. And I've been having a lot of fun just doing deep dives. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.